Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we should be back. From my end, it shows that we should be live. Oh, yeah, there we go. Good times. You're muted. No, on my end. On my end. But I think it was OBS keeping a previous setting. So you have to start again. And now you're not muted.
Awesome. Okay. Anyways, Ningen's PC crashed. We're back. We're going to be discussing about the pity and the new units, etc., etc. Blame Ningen, I would say. I was fine. My mic was all ready and everything, but no, you did all that. Anyways.
Yeah, everything came back on and said we were live, but apparently for some reason the desktop audio thing went back to being muted on my end, like OBS, even though it wasn't muted when the computer crashed. But once
Look, chat. Look, he told me go on, and I was like, all right, let's go. But no,
yeah, it should have been fine. But anyway,
it should have been. It's fine. Continuing on about our talk about the pity specifically, we both agree that the pity is overall a good thing to add. Hopefully, it'll get like shrunken down in the future. Again, as long as you save up the proper amount of stones during the year, you will be able to still take advantage of the pity at the end of the day. So that is a good thing, right? Hopefully it does get decreased to a lower threshold in the future, but that is all we really had to say regarding the new pity system for Dokkan. I do overall like the general idea of it, so fingers crossed for the future. But now, of course, besides the actual pity itself, we're going to quickly talk about our summons, then how good the characters are. So, Ningen, how did your summons go?
Yeah, I actually got quite lucky, I think, overall. I bought I didn't want to buy all the tickets straight away because obviously with there being a part 2 and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to like budget and kind of pace myself a little bit. So I bought the smaller, cheaper ticket packs, did all of those. I didn't really get anything. Well, I think I might have pulled like some dupes I needed, like a Dragon Fist Goku, because it's the first time he came back on Global. I think I might have pulled my LR in Super Saiyan Trio off of the tickets, maybe. I definitely got some okay things, but I didn't get the headliners. So then I jumped into the banners properly. I got Broly on the second 3+1 rotation. So 300 stones to get him. And then I think I did 600 stones on the Trio banner. And that basically used up all of the stones that I had, like, going into the celebration. I hadn't picked up any of the sale packs or anything. So at that point, because I was then going to have to buy stones anyway, I decided to buy the actual, like, the premium ticket pack that Global has, which has a guaranteed featured as the final unit. And then I got my first Whis animation in quite a long time on that ticket. So it means I didn't have to use any more stones. That's what I was saying before when I talked about my thing with the pity. 900 stones on that first day when the banners came out. And that was to get one Broly, one Trio. And then, yeah, I think I did one more rotation afterwards on the Trio banner to see if I could get the Piccolo and Vegeta exchange unit. And I did actually pull them, as well as another dupe for Dragon Fist Goku in Boo. So it was a pretty good rotation for me. Basically, I managed to get the new units fairly easily, and I got dupes for, like, basically all of the returning characters that were returning for Global for the first time. So overall, I would say it definitely went very well. And then, yeah, like I said in the pity section, that means in total now I think I've spent 1,050 stones across the two banners, but I have like 320 coins or something. So pretty much guaranteed that in part 2 I'm going to be able to get one of the units, like guaranteed, which is obviously a good feeling, right? Because we're going to get all the content we're going to get between now and then, all the stones that we're going to get, things like the rainbow tickets, which you can pick up with the memorial stone stuff, which we'll talk about in a bit, I'm sure. Yeah, it leaves me quietly confident that I can come out of part 2 with all of the new units from the worldwide celebration, but I guess we'll see. Famous last words. I'm sure I'll get shafted, but yeah, I got one copy of each. So how did yours go?
Mine went really well, actually. So I did a rotation on Broly, and it was I think it was my first rotation. I forgot which exact multi it was, but I ended up getting 2 Brolys in the same rotation in the same multi.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool, right? That's really, really crazy. Then I switched over to the Super Saiyan Trio banner. I think I did 2 rotations on the banner overall, and I actually was able to also get the Super Saiyan Trio. So I was like, okay, cool. I got a copy of them.
Nice.
Then I decided to be silly. I'm like, I want the banner unit. So, so instead of like just taking my W, I went about another 900 stones to the banner without the banner unit. But I did get another copy of the Super Saiyan Trio. I got 3 dupes for Fat Boo that I needed.
Nice.
And then I did Rainbow the Dragon Fist Super Saiyan 3 Goku.
Nice.
So it wasn't a complete loss. I think I did still get some wins overall. But what it was called, I unfortunately did not get the Piccolo Vegeta banner unit, so I'm just gonna cut my losses. I'm just gonna I did my showcase for Goku already. I'm like, I don't need the banner unit at this point. I wanted them for the showcase really, but unfortunately did not get them, so I'm like, it's whatever. The only reason why I was summoning was to build up my pity coins, right? So in terms of me specifically, I have 30 pity coins on the Broly banner. Then I have 210 pity coins on the Super Saiyan Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks banner. But I could exchange about so there's 87 coins I could red. Oh, I just exchanged them by accident. I didn't mean to do it right now, but I just exchanged 87 red coins, so I'm actually at 297 for the red coins, and then I could exchange another 12 for the carnival coins, and that'll put me about like what 330, 340. So by the time I'm done summoning on the part 2 banners, I should also have enough to grab one more copy of the character.
Nice.
What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the Dokkan Fest banner, because there's also the banner unit there that I'm going to want to pull. I would also like dupes of Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. So I'm going to, I think, go on there. And then I'm just going to grab the Carnival art with coins, 55%, and then I'm going to call it a day from there. And I guess after that, it's going to be kind of just like saving for the Diamond collab. That's going to be in October, I assume. That's something else to keep in mind. There is the Diamond collab coming most likely, so that's going to be fun. But that is how the 7s went. I think overall had really good luck. Went pretty well for me, so big thumbs up.
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking the same sort of thing in terms of summoning in part 2, and it's like kind of to circle back a little bit to the pity system thing, and what I think is really great, like one of the good advantages of it is obviously, again, like, you know, this is just something for me and for people who spend, people on a similar kind of level. I know it doesn't apply to everybody, but one of the things that's really great is, like, normally in a big celebration like this, like the anniversary or the worldwide, you do your summons in part 1, and maybe you get like okay to average luck, maybe a little bit of good luck. Then you go into part 2, right? And it's another 2 banners, and there's nothing worse than going into part 2 of one of these big celebrations, and there's another 2 banners. And let's say you start on the one that is the most appealing to you out of the 2, because obviously we don't know who the part 2 units are going to be. Most people usually are going to start on the one for the unit that they want the most out of the 2. Nothing sucks more than being in that situation and going into that first banner for the unit that you want the most, and it basically takes you like all of your stones that you have going into part 2 to get that unit, because even though you do finally get them, then it's like, well, I can't summon for the other unit now because I've used all of my stones. Whereas with this system, depending on how many summons you have done in part 1 and going over into part 2, it then puts you in that position that you and I are essentially going to be in, Whereas like if I have to drop all my stones going into part 2 on the Dokkan Fest banner to actually pull the unit, I'm then going to end up with enough coins that then I can just get the carnival unit, and I don't have to worry about the fact that I actually can't summon on the banner at all anyway. And that has happened to me before in these big events where it's like 2 dual Dokkan Fests, where you just end up like not being able to get one of the units because one of the 4 banners ends up taking so many stones, you don't have enough stones left for one of the other banners. And the pity thing kind of helps to offset that because it does spread across all 4. So it's good for, obviously, like I say, for us, like you and I are going to both end up in the same position essentially, where as long as it doesn't take, you know, an insane amount of stones, or you don't even end up pulling one of the part 2 units at all, you'll just be able to grab the other one with the coins, and then that'll be all 4 like units secured. So I think that is very good.
Yeah, and I think that is, that's a nice thing where you could, by summoning, guarantee one of the characters, as long as you have the stones, right? Which in a lot of situations, again, if you plan your stones smart, or I guess if you just buy stones, right? So it's always going to be a useful thing, right? In our case, but talking about the units themselves, right? I mean, I'll pass it on to you. You could talk about either the Super Saiyan Trio or the Broly, whichever one is not even like better, just your more favorite one.
Yeah.
Out of the 2.
I mean, I guess we can obviously both give our thoughts on both, but I think Broly is the one that I have the art up for first. So okay. I'll talk about Broly. Broly is incredibly good. I haven't made a tier list in a while. We were talking about this before we actually started the episode, but I make tier lists every now and then when I don't know what else to make for a video, because for me it's not something that I put that much stock in. Like, I enjoy having fun with the units. It's fun to have the discussions about like, is this unit better than the other unit? But I'm not one of these people where like, I have a spreadsheet saved with my personal leaderboard, and every week I'm like moving units up and down and stuff like that. But Broly is one of those few units that's come out in a while, like since Beast, where him coming out and even just reading his details, it was like, oh, is he actually like the new best unit in the game? And I can see I think there are arguments for both, for him or Beast. I'm definitely not on the side of saying like Broly definitely is the new best unit or anything like that, but I think the arguments are potentially there for him. I think he is incredibly well designed. I think Goresh made a tweet essentially saying the same kind of thing, that he just has a perfect design. You've got so many factors that go into why he's so good. So he starts off as base Broly. So straight away, that's great, because we don't have any like good base Brolys in the game. And the thing is, I saw somebody mention, well, yeah, but the funny thing is, I saw somebody mention in, I think it was a video comment or something, or it might have been on a tweet, like, the funny thing is, they could still release another base Broly who is really good and usable, and it wouldn't be that much of an issue because you pretty much transform this guy straight away anyway. So it's not even like you would have a huge issue with having 2 base Brolys. Now, obviously, I think obviously I'm interested to hear your thoughts as well, of course. But like for me, I pretty much always, because the option is there, leave him untransformed on turn 1 and just let him be a tank, because obviously once you transform, he gets that extra damage reduction, and it's only for 3 turns. So depending how long the event is going to be, you don't want to have that run out straight away. So you do get that essentially like free turn where he's in base, where he is pretty much invincible, which I think is very good. Then of course you transform, he gets the damage reduction, you get to use the active skill on the next turn, which is really good. Both these guys, because I was using them on teams, both of the main units, on teams with the anniversary units, because obviously Broly works really well with the AGL anniversary Broly. The Super Saiyans obviously work really well on teams with units like the Super Saiyan Gogeta. And one of the big noticeable differences between the two, which is awesome, is that these guys have the turn counter restriction from the start of battle and not from their first turn. So you end up like, if they get stuck in slot 7 slot 7, so they're on turn 3, it doesn't matter. Like, you can still use their abilities by turn 5 for the trio, or obviously for these guys. I think the banner unit is the same. Really, really good. And it does make a huge noticeable difference, because like I did a run for a video that will go up tomorrow, trying out some of the different like tougher blue zone stages with these teams. And like I had a run with the Super Saiyan trio where Gogeta was in slot 7. So then it's like, man, he's not going to be transforming now until like, turn 7 or whatever it is, turn 6, which is really annoying. Whereas these guys don't have that
Yeah.
error, which I think is really good. Also, it's funny because, you know, sometimes it's really awkward on some of these teams where you get both your leaders on rotation at the same time. And with Broly, I feel like that doesn't really matter because you can either put one in slot 1 and one in slot 3, and they're both essentially invincible anyway. Or if you really wanted to, depending on what your rotations were looking like, you could just transform one and not the other one, and then they can still go like next to each other, which works really nicely as well. So yeah, Broly's really good. I really like all of his animations. He's super fun to use. The greatly stacking on the 18 key is really fun. I've had events that have gone on that little bit longer. And I've used like a rainbow friend, had him next to AGL Broly with AGL Broly's domain up, and then this Tech Broly friend is hitting like over 35 million on his 18 key super, which is pretty fun, especially considering for those first 2 turns after he transforms, he has like 76% damage reduction or whatever it is. So I've had him like double digit tank, like, you know, Blue Zone Gogeta super attacks in slot 1 from like the STR and tech phase, which is really good. And then obviously the one thing I would say about him, which is a bit, we'll talk about the Paragus unit in a little bit, but the one thing I think about him that is very odd is him having movie bosses as the leader skill. I think it's something that a lot of us expected or and predicted that it could be as his 200%, but I feel like there's a few confusing things, especially from the last minute with the data download, where we basically found out that there was a new category being added, the uncontrollable power, but it wasn't added for this guy to have as a leader skill. And then we also found
Yeah.
out that we were getting a free-to-play Paragus, and the only teams that he shares with Broly doesn't lead any of those teams. They just gave him movie bosses, and Paragus isn't a movie boss. So I think in terms of leads, like movie bosses did need a new, like current meta relevant leader. I'm not sure if it was necessarily the best choice for Broly, but his team certainly is fun. It needs a few tweaks. I think it's one of those things like with the anniversary where we're going to get to the end of the worldwide celebration, and then movie bosses will be like an insane team. But at the moment, we still like need a few little things, like we know we're getting the Int Broly Easy A, but we haven't got it yet. Obviously, whoever, if we do, as long as we get an extreme unit as one of the part 2 units, will undoubtedly be a movie boss's character as well. We'll probably get at least one more Easy A, hopefully the Tech Broly in part 2, Tech LR Broly from movie 10. So by the end of the celebration, I think movie bosses, like just the full pure 200% movie bosses team, will be really, really good. But obviously, for now, it's a little bit wonky. Like I still find myself having to run units like Harudagan, who we all know can be good sometimes, and then other times just immediately doesn't dodge and immediately gets you killed. So, but yeah, Broly himself is awesome, super fun to use. Just yeah, absolutely fantastic unit, and I at 55% he's still really good as well. So yeah, very much enjoying using him as a unit. So yeah, absolutely love Broly. What do you think of him?
I think it's great. Again, the thing you said, the no restrictions just make it super easy and fun to use him. I can do whatever I want with him, whatever I want, and it's really, really good. Um, I think my only thing with Broly is sometimes it could be a little weird to hit 24 keys, especially in his first transform turn. It depends on who was around, but that's not really like oh, I don't hit 24 key, I hit like 21 key. It's not like the biggest deal unless you really need that action disable, which doesn't really matter because he lives in the attack anyways. Um Besides that, again, like you said, the leader skill could be better, but we should be getting in Broly's easy details on Sunday is what I'm thinking. And I think he'll be out on the third. So very soon we'll get in Broly Easy added to the team. Tech Broly's Easy A should be there. I think that we'll get part 2 Broly, so there's gonna be a lot of characters that'll work well with this guy added to the team. Then we still have some Max, we still have Turles, Broly Trio. Like there's gonna be some good options there, so that's gonna be awesome. Um yeah, besides that, I guess maybe his building up could be slightly better. Like him doing attacks, I'd rather that it's him receiving an attacks than him doing attacks because it'd just build up way quicker. Barely an issue though. I had like very small tweaks I would say maybe to make, but like regardless, he's still incredible. Like with his full passive up, especially he cannot die. I had a turn though where he did run out with his full passive. What's it called? And even though his full passive did run out, he still had the 50% reduction. I had Broly Trio in slot 1, and with Broly Trio, I was able to get the extra 10% reduction. So my 69% Broly with the 60% reduction, we were able to eat Gogeta Blue's super attack for about 110k damage. And again, keep in mind that's in slot 2, so he did not have the guard up. That was only the damage reduction, right? Which is pretty massive because again, the slot 1 specifically, Broly gets that guard. And dude, guard with the 76% reduction is like he doesn't take damage regardless, right? Regardless, right? But yeah, also chat saying I'm quieter. I'm not sure if that's a thing in general.
Oh wait, yeah,
Um,
I do normally turn up the desktop volume for the episodes. There we go.
well, yeah, okay. Well, now I'm normal, chat. My look, Ningen's trying to slander me, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Like I'm fine. My mic is the same as always. Brah, that's crazy.
I know, right?
Okay, now I'm good.
The fumbles.
Anyways, anyways, in case you couldn't hear me properly, Broly has no restrictions. Really good, very tanky. Does a lot of damage, man. That Broly just does crazy good damage. I think, especially when he starts getting some of those attack stacks, he goes pretty nasty. And then, of course, he just can't take damage, like I said. I do like the active skill. Just
Yeah.
as funny, him
Crushing
crashing
Paragus.
Paragus.
And the fact that it's so
Yeah,
free
his
as well,
active
it's
skill
like you
is
just get it on the next turn, and then it gives him a
yeah,
permanent buff.
exactly.
Like as if he wasn't good enough already, he just on the next
Mhm.
turn just gets a permanent buff, and that's still the turn where he has the extra damage reduction as well. So like,
Yeah,
he's just
and he gives
absolutely
himself
ridiculous.
3 key too. I do like the 3 key he gives himself. That's very helpful. Yeah, no, this guy's just amazing. I think hopefully his team gets better, but they do not play with Spurley at all.
There's only
Not much
one.
else really to say.
There's only one
What?
issue that after all these years, you know, we finally got a Z Broly that is actually a tank. However,
Oh yeah,
they
it
still
doesn't have the
we
nullification,
still
right?
got robbed. Exactly, we still don't have the super attack nullification of him face tanking the Kamehameha. And the thing that makes that even worse is the fact that the Super Saiyan trio have that Kamehameha as part of their animation, like the actual Kamehameha that Goku does, that Broly face tanks. Like they have that as part of their animations, but he doesn't
They do.
have the super attack nullification, which is a shame. It would have been a nice like that sort of like cherry on top, but yeah, even without it, he is insanely good. One of the things I like as well is his just how they made it so he works so well with the Dragon Ball Super Broly, which is obviously one of our biggest concerns. Like if he'd released as a Super Saiyan Broly, they wouldn't work together until one of them transforms. They're both on each other's 200% teams as well. So I did try out a team build the other day while I was just messing around with like the AGL Broly team, double AGL Broly, and putting this Tech Broly on there, having like, you know, Rose, Cell Max, all these other crazy characters that are on Super Bosses as well. And man, getting the rotation, I think it might be because I did an event where I got locked and one of them ended up getting floated off. But I basically ended up with the rotation where I had Tech Broly in slot 1, then transformed AGL Broly in slot 2, and the other AGL Broly in slot 3. And just like the sheer amount of damage on that rotation is absolutely ridiculous. Like the triple
Yeah.
Broly with the Broly domain like buff active, like yeah, I think that might have been the turn where the Tech Friend Broly that I mentioned before did like a 35 mil. And then you've got like the AGL Broly that I think mine's 95% at 90% doing like 25 mil into multiple like 18 mil additionals and stuff. It's just absolutely insane the amount of damage that rotation puts out. So it's pretty good. Yeah, very, very good unit. Very happy with how he turned out.
Yeah, I think great job. Amazing design. Another amazing design unit, we might as well talk about him now, since we already talked a lot about Broly, is the Super Saiyan Goku, Trunks, and Gohan, or Goku, Gohan, and Trunks, whatever the exact name is. Really strong character. This is probably one of my more favorite characters released, just like in Dokkan history. I think
Okay.
one big reason why. I mean, they make so many other characters relevant. I'm gonna straight up say I do think they're the best unit in the game. I
Oh,
do have a tier list coming out in 30 minutes, by the way. After this stream is over, you can go watch it and see why more specifically. But no, this character is absolutely crazy. I just think because you look at their details at first, and it doesn't seem like they jump out the page to you as this role, but they are a very good slot one character in majority of situations. Now, the reason why is because that part of their passive, where they get 30% defense for every 3 key.
hmm.
When I first read that, I was like, oh, that's my mind thought like 30% defense per 3 keysters obtained. Not really that great,
Yeah, no,
but
it's just key in general,
it's
isn't it?
yeah, it's key in general. So you hit 24 key, that's 8 instances of 30% multiplicative defense, which means that when they receive an attack, they get 240% defense
Yeah,
when receiving an attack.
crazy.
It is very nasty considering that against super attacks, they also have 45% reduction given their full passive is up. So it's a thing where you see them, let's say, for example, if they're at 500k defense flat sort of turn, they could be higher, they could be lower, depending on the circumstances. Let's say you're at 500k defense. You get that 240%. That shoots up to probably like what 1.7, 1.8 mil defense because the 500k would be doubled, and then you have this still 40% because of the 200% itself would double that, right? Or it would would it triple that? Yeah, it would triple that actually. But whatever the case is, they'll be like past 1.5 mil defense easily
Yeah.
in a scenario like that, right? And then they have 15% reduction just against all normals, given you have the mover heroes are all, I think it's all struggle category ally in the rotation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And against supers, they'll have 45% reduction. I mean, I had them. Yeah, the Goku and Frieza fight. Their super attack usually hits for about 3 mil, right before the 100% attack buff. I had my 69% Goku, Trunks, and Gohan pre-standby. I did have Bulma's active support, right? I lived the super attack for 66k damage against a
Damn.
type disadvantage, basically over 3 mil damage super, right? Because they're a type disadvantage there.
Okay.
66k damage, bro. And you have to keep in
Interesting.
mind they're providing 2 turns of 77% defense, right? So when you have them overlapping 154% defense support, they're providing super attack effect 30% defense to the entire rotation. Like if you have a character, let's say maybe they're at 1 mil defense, then they get 50% defense, they'd go to 1.5 mil, right? Because that's just how the math would work, right? They get 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, instead of going to 1.5 mil, they'd go to 1.8 mil. And as the numbers increase, and as that goes further and further, the more they're going to get from that super attack effect. It's crazy considering that they're also supporting start of turn. Damage wise, they're actually pretty decent still. I'm not going to say they're good damage wise. Like a good damage dealer is like, I would say, Asia or Broly, for example, right? Or LR
Yeah.
Max. Like, that's good damage. Their damage is still pretty decent, though. Like, again, mine was doing about 16, 17 mil. Then if they get the additionals, which are 2 high chance additionals, it is around like 11 to 12 mil.
Yep.
Super effective is nice, but especially against these bosses that limit the damage you do, and you have to meet the damage threshold, it's not really as crazy as any crit. Unfortunately, there's not really any built-in crit for them, which could really hurt their standby skill, because if you don't get the finish skill, critical attack does way less damage than it could. But I mean, the finish skill in itself, or the standby portion of the Goku card, is really gross because you can get so many physical orbs. They're
Yeah.
guarding,
It's like
59%
invincible.
reduction. Yeah, they still have the 30% defense when receiving an attack. So it's like they have like they can get like turns with like nearly 2 million defense with guard and 59% damage reduction. Just because they can, right?
Yeah.
And then they're
Ridiculous.
still supporting multiple turns. Yeah, they're a very nasty character. The punch, I've seen the punch do like 5 to 7 health bars of like the biggest bosses just by itself, right? They hit very hard, more so when you get the crit, especially. But it's very, very gross, dude. It just what a character, man.
Mhm.
What a character. They also can debuff as well on top of that.
Yes, that's
Like,
really important. Yeah.
Yeah, the
getting those
debuffing is
additionals.
yeah, I do like the debuffing there. Great leader skill, good link set, a lot of teams, very little restrictions. They just need that ally in rotation, but it's like you're gonna want to run a character like God Goku. God Goku is actually super relevant. Before God Goku was more of like a dodge or die character, but because of the amount of support they provide, God Goku does fine, right? He's creating the physical key spheres. So you can run Broly Tree on the team, right? They are a character that can also create physical key spheres. Blue Gogeta, another movie heroes character, he changes non-physical key spheres to rainbow. So he doesn't actually remove their physical key spheres by changing them to rainbow key spheres, which is really good. It'll just make them get more key. Oh yeah, they're also providing 3 key 50% attack, right? So they're supporting offensively still as well, 50% and 3 key. It just like they just are doing so much. I ran I don't know if you saw my Twitter clip. I ran the AGL Super Saiyan Goku Vegeta from 2022 in the Blue Evolution Vegeta and Kaioken Goku stage, and I had a turn where that character took 600k from the turn the like just a turn one super attack, hits for about like 2.4 2.5 mil or so. But they lived it, and the team has like what 750k HP, so they're able to live the super attack. They're able to tank, or they're able to take about 10k normals from the final phase once they're post transformation or the morale boost. Right, that character was able to take only 10k normals from Blue Evolution Vegeta when he's doing like I think it's like 1.3 mil normals. It's like the amount of defense utility they give to the characters around them. I've seen people around like Tech Super Gogeta on their team. Like that, how much influence and how much power they give to these characters. And imagine how much they actually give to really good characters. Someone like Future Gohan, GT Duo is really good on their team, right? Bulma is a lot better on the team. Like their influence is so disgusting. And I think it's a thing where throughout the entire fight, they're going to be doing that the entire time. Even post standby, get a lot of physical orbs. They still get. You can even get more. That Goku could even get more support, depending on the orbs he grabs. It's just through the entire fight, and I just like felt no danger. Like I know Beast Gohan, for example, would have the target skill, which is really good. You could use it anytime you want turn 3. But this character is like it's always active, that defense support that is super disgustingly massive, and they could live most supers in the game turn 1, so or slot 1, I mean. So
yeah, so
yeah.
I'm interested. I think it's interesting to hear you say that you think they're number one, because I've used mine a little bit, because that's the thing, I got both of them at 55%, and I will say that, I mean, I guess I don't know if it is just because mine are 55%. I'm trying to think back to the rotation now, because I can't remember if I did record it as part of one of the videos I was making, but I did have them die to taking a slot 1 super from STR Blue Gogeta in his Blue Zone stage, obviously not in their standby. And they had the full 24 key, so while I was recording, it was like, okay, yeah, they should be fine in slot 1. But then, yeah, they took, I think it's like 840k or something, which, I mean, for a very hard-hitting type disadvantage boss, that isn't necessarily terrible, but obviously the team doesn't have that much HP, so I did die. But
I would like to know, actually, was that the turn, like, did you use the standby skill and then they were there, or was that them just
I'm
there?
not sure.
Because
I think
if you
the
use the
other one might have
standby
been in the standby on the previous rotation. I can't remember.
okay, because I was gonna say, if you use the
Let's see if I
standby
have the
and
clip.
then they went back to normal, then they didn't have the 3 turn 50% defense that they get on the 18 key, which which would make a difference. I would say that 50% defense would be a lot, but I mean, at 55% in slot 1, that's understandable if they would die to Blue Gogeta, right?
Yeah, exactly, and it's not
Okay,
something
so we're
that I
back to
would.
the
This is not something I would like hold against them either, right? Especially being at
yeah
55%, it being a type
type
disadvantage
disadvantage.
super. Like, I don't.
Like it hits for 3.6 mil, but then type disadvantage that's at least like 4 mil plus, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the rotation, it was It is after they didn't use their standby, so I used the other Goku standby on the previous turn, and that killed the
Okay.
killed the Tech Gogeta that turn. Went into STR Gogeta. The rotation was the trio, the Vegeta banner unit because he exchanged with Piccolo on that turn, and Bulma in slot 3, and I did get the orbs for her support as well. Full 24 key for them, and yeah, they took 872k. So
did you collect orbs with this physical Goku last turn? The turn before as well?
yes,
Or
the
did you just
standby
use the
one, yeah,
famous?
full 24 key. Now he'd just
Okay.
gone into the standby on that turn. So I went into
I
the
see.
second turn. I was already at 41 charges going into the next turn.
It's so
Um,
stupid.
yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one thing about him that
that
stands out
makes
as well,
sense
that how
though.
ridiculously easy it is to get the charges. I don't think I've ever once even come close to not getting the 41 for the actual full power version. Um,
To be number one, they should be able to live that. Well, if they're a rainbow, they would have lived it.
yeah,
They're 55% in that situation. So if they're a rainbow, they would have lived that actually, which is the crazy thing. And plus, how many orbs did you get with him? I assume like 10 orbs or something like that. The Super Saiyan Goku in the turn before, so it's still roughly the same amount of support if that's the case. I mean, yeah. Again, I want to push against them, but like, if you're gonna be like, oh, I think Beast Gohan's better because there's no situations where Beast Gohan will die, even if I'm doing everything right. That's like fine, right? I just think that overall they provide more, so that's why I'm thinking that they're probably the best unit in the game. I mean,
yes.
I feel pretty confident that you could at least make that argument.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because it's like that's one of the big arguments I see between the Broly, whether like people saying Broly is better than Beast or not, is obviously one of the big things is Beast having the active skill that obviously protects the entire team, which is
Yeah,
very valuable. But like
I, I would say
Broly,
between those two, um, I would actually say Broly's better than, or no, sorry, Beast. I would say Beast is better than Broly because of the fact that they kind of do a similar role, but it's a thing where Beast does has the active skill still.
mhm.
Whereas Broly, I think what actually probably does consistently tank things better throughout the entire fight, and he doesn't have to build up. Um, so again, that's why I think it's like at that point you can still argue either way, right? But I
Yeah.
think they're all on the same level, to be honest, which is at the end of the day a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was going to say, right? Is to me personally, I don't really care, as I said, like which one is the best unit in the game. But one of the things I think is good is that we're getting these units come out and like we can even have the discussion, like, are they now the best unit in the game? The fact that like the top tier units that are coming out are at that kind of level. Because whilst on the one hand we do have to consider power creep and how dangerous that can be at times and stuff like that. At the same time, we don't want to be in a situation where it's like the worldwide celebration starts, both the main units come out, and then as a community in general, or like as a whole, we're all just like, well, neither of these units are anywhere near as good as Beast. So even though they're cool, like that's kind of disappointing. So the fact that they're good enough to even have the discussion, I think, is certainly very cool. Especially because, like, you know,
Mm.
Beast fits on Broly's. I can't actually remember off the top of my head the leader skill for Goku, Trunks, and Gohan, but obviously you can run Beast on AGL Broly's team, so you can run Tech Broly and Beast on the same team. He's not on their team, is he? Because he's not on All Out Struggle Beast Gohan, is he?
No,
Yeah, so he's
he's
not
not.
on their team, which is a shame.
Mm.
But there's a bunch of teams that they can be on together, so it's definitely interesting having them all together. But yeah, I think these guys are super good. I do love the standby, the fact that you can get like easily over 100 charges depending on the team build. And like you said, like the defense support that they give makes it easier to run some of these other units, like Bulma is a good example. Because obviously she only gets their 170 lead and has started to like age out now in terms of like how good she is defensively against some of the hardest hitting bosses in the game. But now on this team with all the extra defensive support, like I've been using her on the team going into all these like tough blue zone fights and stuff like that with their team and like not really having any issue like with her. And obviously, if you get the timing right, like having her active skill available during the standby. Like I think one of the turns that I got while doing it was either Beast or Blue Gogeta, Blue Zone. I can't remember which one, but I had the turn where like it's the turn where the Vegeta exchange side banning unit does his massive orb change. So then you go into standby with the Goku. The Vegeta changes basically every single orb on the field except for into physical. Then you go into Goku standby, he changes the int orbs into physical. So you basically pick up the entire field of orbs. Then you pick up a bunch of orbs of Vegeta. Then you use Bulma's active skill and pick up the entire field of orbs again. And you're going into the second turn and you've already got like 60 or 70 charges on the active skill, on the standby attack. And you only need 41, but it's like 20% attack per charge. So yeah, I've seen, even with mine at 55%, like I've seen the like finisher punch attack do just absolutely ridiculous amounts of damage. And of course the KO screen is super cool as well. So definitely a very, very fun unit. And like you said, good links on lots of teams. So yeah, very, very impressed with how these guys turned out. And that's the thing, people were so worried about like, oh no, if they do movie 8 Broly as like worldwide or like one of these big celebrations, that means we'll have to get another Super Saiyan Goku. And instead, we got these guys who have a unique name and are super, super good. So yeah, definitely very happy with how this unit turned out as well.
My only issue with them is not even like their kit, it's that they don't have an intro where they transform.
Yeah, well, the bit that's the thing we're talking, because
like,
we watched the movie in the Discord like the night before the banners came out, and the fact that they don't have the intro, like the one where they all power up and like Trunks' jacket like disintegrates and stuff like that's the absolute perfect. Like, why is that not the intro animation for this character?
I mean, like the same thing with I feel like Broly's animations. There could have been better picks for his animations too. They didn't leave the they didn't even give him the notification. It almost feels like they didn't have time to like add those things, maybe, but who knows? Maybe they're just making anniversary STR Super Vegetos like chests a little more glistening or something like that. You know what I mean?
The one thing that
like
does
they're
make
just
me laugh,
going all in,
because it's like, you know, we all know how bad the enemy sprites are. If Theo was here, you know, the stinky sprites. But what's really funny to me is how I love the fact that they decided to have the stones, I guess, the dragon stones, to make it so that Goku has the cool, like, just blocking their like punch with his hand. But like almost every single event I've gone into, the enemy sprite hand is nowhere near his hand. Like even Broly, who is literally the character is like designed to be fighting, like the fist is actually hitting him in like the chest and his hand is in completely the wrong place. So I think it's quite a bold like thing that they tried to do. But at the same time, it's kind of funny that it doesn't line up very well for a lot of the enemies. There's a few that I've seen where it does line up okay. And one of them that obviously looks really funny is Beast, because if you're doing the Beast event, the idea that like Super Saiyan Goku just casually blocks like Beast Gohan and then powers up against the rock and like sends him flying away is hilarious. But yeah, really, really good. I think the animations are absolutely insane as well. Like that 18 key super for them, some of the line art and everything on all like the close-ups, that 18 key super like is just so good. So yeah, really, really enjoy this unit. And yeah, I guess we could talk about them a little bit, because did you pull the banner unit, Piccolo and Vegeta? Because I've seen a lot of people like hyping them up like a lot. I've seen people saying that like, you know, when you get Vegeta out, he's basically a Dokkan Fest exclusive like himself. But I can say in my experience with mine being at 55%, I haven't seen him be particularly crazy. Like that massive orb change that he gets is really, really good for the trio. And again, I know it's like a kind of a worst case scenario for him, but I had a run where like he got the big orb change. I picked up all the orbs for the standby Goku. He tanked everything obviously for double digits, but against the final phase of the Blue Gogeta, and then the physical Vegeta was taking like 250k from the normals, which I know it's type disadvantage for him, but that is, he has like 50% damage reduction in his passive, and so that's still quite a lot of damage. I know STR Gogeta post supering does hit quite hard. He has got type disadvantage, But yeah, I mean, I found him quite useful. The fact that the Piccolo form give like 60% support to super class like movie heroes and all out struggle, that is a crazy amount of support. And then the transformation animation is cool. The Vegeta gets the big attack and guaranteed crit for 1 turn. So he's pretty good, but yeah, definitely not anything. I don't think I would say like it's not one of those units where kind of like King Vegeta when he came out, where I sort of used them a couple of times and I'm like, damn, this is like might be the new best banner unit. I don't see them as that kind of level with my own
I
experience so
think
far of them at 55%. But
to me they're good in the way where they just directly help the Dokkan Fest.
yeah, which is what we
I just
want
don't think
from these banner
by
units.
themselves they're not like Dokkan Fest level though.
Mhm.
Like if a Dokkan Fest came out like this, I'm not like, I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
Um, someone more Dokkan Fest level would be like Dispel. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah, I think Dispel's really good. He just needs to build up a little, which is the issue with him. But
Yeah.
this character is still really good though. I do like them. You know, Piccolo is supporting, and then getting the triple orb changing, and then just getting like 23 orbs in the field with Goku is very nasty if you could do that. So that's probably like the biggest thing.
Mm.
That's why I like them a lot. They are able to cook a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Also, yeah, there's the Orange Piccolo exploit. So like, if you know how like when you use Orange Piccolo, you can reset the orb field, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you grab the orbs with Goku, you grab orbs with Vegeta, then you use Orange Piccolo, then it resets the turn, but then they change the orbs again.
Okay, that's
So that
crazy.
you get the same orbs twice in a single turn.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So,
I'm gonna have to try that out.
yeah, it's very, very, very disgusting. If you get that, you can get like, how many charges could you even get? You could probably even crack near 200 charges, honestly,
Yeah,
if
I'm
you
gonna
get
have
really
to
lucky
try
like
that
that.
now.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because yeah, the Piccolo exploit is obviously something that can be very, very interesting. And Piccolo is another unit that's kind of in that same boat as Bulma, where obviously he was, up there as being one of the best units in the game for a while. And it's only recently, like he's kind of like I don't want to say he's like aged out completely because I still use him on some teams, especially because the giant form thing can be so useful. But obviously he has started to take a bit more damage in some of these events now. Even with his full build up, especially like after those first
I
two
mean,
returns when his guard runs out. But yeah, when you put him with these guys who are then giving everybody insane amounts of extra defense, then like he's really good
yeah.
still again. So
Before the podcast, I saw a screenshot. I told Ningen about it.
hmm.
I saw a screenshot where Orange Piccolo was at 2 million defense
Yeah, start of
on this
turn.
team
That's crazy.
before they supered. So keep in mind that the trio would give them 30% defense, and then he's getting his own 50% defense on a super attack effect. If he double supered there and had the Super Saiyan trio support, he would be at 4.6 mil defense. Actually, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
very.
ridiculous.
He would get his own 100%, which would push that 2 million to 4 million, and then there's a 30% off the 2 million, which would be 600k, right? Roughly, even close to 700k. So they'd be closer to 4.7 mil defense. That Orange Piccolo on that turn, and I think that was with his interrupt. So
Yeah.
that's also with the guard and 20% reduction.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
He's crazy in this new team. If
Yeah.
you get to build up, which it's a lot easier because of that support that they provide.
Hmm. The Grill Master is back.
Also, yeah, there is a thing where someone in chat just said he has the full heal in his back pocket that'll give him the extra 30% damage reduction.
Hmm.
That's a cool thing too, if you can get that.
Yeah, it's not often that you get it, but when you do, it's still super, super useful. Yeah, I haven't even really thought to try him out that much on this team, so I'm definitely going to have to try that out for an experiment and see if we can get the ridiculous standby charge up thing. So
Yep.
but yeah, definitely in terms of like the new summonable units that have released, definitely seems like we're off to a great start with the worldwide celebration. Both the LRs are really good. The banner unit is good, even if they're not like crazy broken. They're still very good, and like you said, they help out the unit, the unit they came out with, which is kind of what we want from these banner units. Like it's all well and good for the unit to be good, but if they're not useful with the unit they've released with, it's kind of a bit awkward. which then leads us on to, as we discussed very briefly before, we'll talk about the free-to-play farmable character that we got for the worldwide celebration. Now, the thing that I find very interesting is obviously based on last year. You know, we got the trunks, the int free-to-play trunks that had the domain. We also got the awakening for the STR trunks from one of the story events, and they both got easy A's. But they specifically went out of their way in the Dokkan Now to tell us that this guy is not getting an easy A during this celebration. And apparently on the JP one, they did actually mention that it will be happening in a later future celebration. But that is the tech free-to-play Paragus. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this guy? I don't know if have you farmed him up and actually like tried him out yet, or what do you think about Paragus finally has a TUR?
He seems like just kind of mid. We do know he's not easying the celebration.
Yep.
So I don't know. Turn 6 is stupid. Yeah, turn 6 first dodged. Why do you have to wait that long? It's so dumb.
So weird. Like, because it's like he gets extra dodge in slot 3, but not until turn 6, when he's a character who's essentially designed, like from the rest of his kit, to be a floating support unit. So you're going to be putting him in slot 3 all the time anyway. He gives support to, is it Pure Saiyans? And then the extra is to a Broly. So, you know, if he's on the team with Brolys, he gives them like 60% support, which is really, really good. But then it comes back to what I mentioned when we started talking about Broly and his leader skill, is that you can't run him on the new Broly's team. So when I did a showcase video for this guy, after farming him up and link leveling him and everything, first thing to note is that he doesn't actually have any 200% leaders. Because of the few categories that he's on, there's actually no 200% leader combination that he's on, which is quite funny. So you're only ever running him on a 170 lead. And the only lead that I could really run him on and also run like the Brolys, and some characters that would have some links with Paragus, is like Physical Turles' team. Because he leads Pure Saiyans and then obviously Space Traveling Warriors, so you can get some of the other like Extreme Saiyans on there. But Physical Turles is not really a unit that you want to be running anymore these days. I've tried him out on like teams because of the LR Turles army, and he frauds me out constantly. So yeah, it seems very weird for them to release this guy free to play. Needs a Broly for his intro, gives extra support to Broly units, but is on like barely any teams with the Brolys outside of Pure Saiyans. Inhuman Deeds is a category they gave him, which the new Z Broly has, but obviously doesn't lead. I thought Inhuman Deeds was one of the categories that I thought could end up being Broly's leader skill, because then it would have had Paragus on it, and that team doesn't even have a 170 lead yet. So for me, it's a very confusing decision to bring, like, finally give this guy a TUR. Like, the art's pretty cool, the animation's pretty cool, like it's from part of the movie, like, but like the unit just kind of, after doing the showcase, it's kind of what I said at the end of the video. It's like, I don't know if I'll ever use this guy again, because like, what team builds realistically am I putting him on? Because I'm not using him on Tech Broly or AGL Broly's team, because he's not on their leader skill. So like, when am I actually ever going to use him? Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's just a thing of he's kind of useless, and it's like they're like, oh, we planned for him to easy in another celebration. When?
It's like, yeah, but why as well? Like, unless
it doesn't make sense.
His whole point is that he supports Broly, and he needs a Broly on the team to get his animation, like his intro buff. But they're going to easy A him in a different celebration later, when, unless that's going to be a different celebration where we also get another new Broly, which obviously seems unlikely. But I don't know.
We could get a Fury Broly, I guess. But like, that's like all I could think of. I don't know.
It comes back to the same problem that we've said many times before, and like, people are already bringing it up in the chat. People have mentioned it in the comments of like the videos and stuff. It's that whole issue with like movie heroes versus movie bosses with how they do the categories, because like every superclass character gets to be on movie heroes. So like, somebody could just show up in the movie for like one scene, and then if they get a Dokkan unit, they'll be on movie heroes. But for the extreme characters, movie bosses is only the actual boss of the movie, and none of their minions get to be on the category. And so then it creates this issue where a bunch of these units don't really have like teams that they can be run together on. And this is a prime example. Like, because of how they do movie bosses, Paragus isn't on the movie bosses category. Whereas if they made it like, to go alongside movie heroes, it could be like movie villains and just have all the extreme characters from the movie on the category the same way they do Superclass, then he would be on Broly's leader skill, which would then make sense. But yeah, it's very weird that like the bosses, because they do it's the same. It's super bosses, movie bosses, and GT bosses. They all do the same like thing, and it's just really awkward for characters like this guy. So very unfortunate. But I mean, his base kit is not terrible. It's just he's just not worth using because he's on so few teams as it is anyway. So maybe his EZA could be good, but it's one of those things. If he doesn't get his EZA in a celebration where they're then also bringing out like a big, Inhumans Deeds or Revenge leader or something like that, then he's still probably not going to end up with a good team to be run on. So very awkward for this
guy. It is kind of awkward for him for sure. And I don't know, they just sucks for Paragus. I think it's funny that he has a card though.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that he does finally have an actual TUR, and they gave him some extra categories because his only other card in the game was an SR, and he was only on Revenge and Pure Saiyans. So, fortunately, we kind of avoided another Paragus and Broly incident where they literally only have like 2 categories and basically no teams. But still a bit of a shame because that's another unit that is then robbed of being on movie bosses because it's not just Broly. So, it'd be really nice. I think at this point we've been talking about this for years with these categories though, so they're not going to change it anytime soon. But it is a bit disappointing. But he can certainly be interesting with an EZA. It just, as I say, it's like, will he have a team in the when the celebration that he EZA's in needs to bring out like new units that you'd actually want to run him with? But considering he needs a Broly, I mean, Tech Broly's not going to age out anytime soon. So I mean, if this guy got his EZA during a celebration where they released like a Carnival 200% Inhuman Deeds leader, then this guy would be getting his EZA. It's very unlikely Tech Broly would have aged out by that point. And so then he would have some use, but it's like all of those pieces would have to fall into place in order for him to actually be good, like when he gets his EZA. So a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is, I guess.
It definitely is what it is. But yeah, those are the new characters regarding this celebration specifically. Now there are a couple other things that did happen throughout this celebration, such as we got some difficult content. We did also get the memorial stones. I'm not sure what slide you have up next, Ningen, if there's anyone in particular, or if that's like the only slide.
That's it for the actual card arts, because everything else is just kind of general discussion, really.
Okay, so I guess we could talk about memorial stones real quick. Just not really much of a discussion. I ended up getting 553 memorial stones this year. Last year I got 630, so I went down about 80 memorial stones, give or take. So I think that is a massive W on my end because my goal is to spend less in Dokkan, and it seems to be working out.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, no, I definitely got less. I got less this year than I have. Every year for the last couple of years, I've gotten more than the year before. But yeah, I've definitely not been whaling out as much this year. So I think I got 500 and... I think we worked it out, it's 100, because I bought the rainbow tickets straight away when I got them all. And so then when I was looking back at the number of memorial stones I had, I was trying to work out how many I'd spent. And I think it's like 105 to get all the things, and then I had 401 left afterwards. Yeah, so I got 506 in total. I think last year I got like 750 something, so it was a pretty significant amount. I worked it out on stream earlier, like with the calculator, and it's like, obviously because you get 1 stone per 50 stones spent, I think I spent like over 12,000 stones less this year than I did last year. But there's been a few things that have influenced that. Like somebody mentioned it in the chat, right? Like the fact that pity is a thing for the yellow coin banners. Like there's been a couple of yellow coin banners where I've been quite lucky with summons, or like another big thing for global is the ticket packs. Because tickets have kind of always been a thing for global, but in the last year especially, like every single banner has had a purchasable ticket pack. So I've gotten lucky on a few banners where I've pulled the unit off of the ticket pack, and then if it's been a character that I didn't really care that much about, and obviously for me, like I'm only summoning for them to make content and stuff, then I've just been happy to be like, right, well, there's my one copy for the 55%. I can make a bunch of videos. I'm not going to spend any stones on the banner because I pulled them on the tickets. So obviously that's another thing that kind of contributes to having spent less stones overall. But yeah, I mean, like you said, that is a good thing at the end of the day. A little bit less spending here and there.
It is nice, right? But yeah, I think both got lucky. There's a couple things you could exchange for your coins, or I say your coins, but your memorial stones. Again, if you haven't, make sure you please get the rainbow tickets. That is
Yes.
going to allow you to summon on the banners for free in part 2. When the
Yep.
part 2 banners drop, you'll also have ticket versions of those banners with the tons of things tickets, not tickets. And we should also be getting just some more than the 21 in general, if I'm not mistaken. But you'll be able to summon quite a bit on that banner, so that will be just free summons that you could do potentially, which is awesome. On top of that, you could buy certain characters. I don't really think any of the characters on the list is like jumping out to me as like, oh yeah, spend the 150. Especially because I think for free to play players, after you get the tickets, you're not even gonna have enough to buy a character potentially anyways. If
Yep.
I'm not mistaken, I think free to play players literally got like enough stones to buy the tickets and have some left over. So you're just gonna go ahead and have to just get the rest in the actual tickets themselves, which is fine. I think the banner you do have the one time only 50 tickets will get you a multi on that banner. So or like a multi with like I think it's is it not like 10 guaranteed featured
Yeah, it's like
characters?
20 characters and 10 are guaranteed featured. Like,
Yeah. So like that's pretty good overall in terms of value. So just make sure you can get that done. But that's it for the specific tickets in terms of
yeah,
like what you should
I was
get,
just gonna
etc.
say
etc.
the thing with the memorial stones as well, like for us especially, is like it's one of those things where I definitely don't mind not getting as many as the year before, because the funny thing about the memorial stones is like the more of a whale you are, like the more of them you'll get, but the more of a whale you are, the less of them you need, because like going into
Exactly.
the actual banner that you can use the tickets on, there was only one unit that I could actually even use a single copy of. Everybody else on that banner is rainbow for me, and that was the Int Piccolo Junior. Because I don't know how I ended up at that point, but mine was only at 90%. I think it's because like when I get a unit to 90%, I'm not going to bother buying the last copy with coins, because it's like I know if I do that, the next time they come back on a banner, I'm probably going to pull them like 3 times. So I think the last time he came back on a banner, I just didn't pull him. So mine was at 90%. So I did what I've done in the last couple of years, where I basically traded in all of my memorial stones for tickets except for 150. Did a bunch of the summons to see if I could pull that final copy of Piccolo Junior. Didn't pull him, so then I just spent the last 150 stones to buy that copy of Piccolo Junior, and now he's rainbowed because he's literally the only unit from the banner that I could actually use. So that's the thing, is it kind of doesn't matter how many tickets I get when I don't need any of the units on the banner. So I definitely agree with Minato. You want to prioritize getting those rainbow tickets because they let you actually summon for the new unit for free, which is definitely what you want. So yeah, do pick those up, however many you can with the amount of stones you get. Like I said, it's 105 if you want to buy all 21. So if you got less than 105, just try and grab as many of them as you can. Because like there will be people out there that will pull one of the part 2 units off of those free tickets. So it might not
It'll be me,
necessarily be
trust.
you, but yeah, I mean,
Nah, it'll be me.
I've been lucky with those rainbow tickets before. I think it was an anniversary. I can't remember which one, but yeah, those anytime you can get free summons on the actual new banners, that's something you always want. That's why that new thing for the anniversary was so good with the 77 unit summon, and the fact that you could use it on one of their main headline banners. So the fact that we can get these tickets that you can use to summon on the headline banners for free, you want to try and take advantage of those and get as many of those as you can.
Makes sense. I definitely agree with that thought process, and hopefully, you guys get good luck on those summons whenever those banners comes out. But yeah, beyond that, we did have. It's pretty much just been the two events. I know people
Mhm.
have been saying there's been a lack of content in part one. I've seen a certain amount of people say that, but I mean, you have to think about it. In the countdown, we did get an easy A. Then on top of that, we ended up getting the Dragon Ball. I think it was the Dragon Ball Z Movie Memorial. We got 4 stages for that, which
Mhm.
those fights weren't really hard. I guess to be fair, we are getting two more stages, stages 5 and 6 of that next week on the third, right? So you do want to keep that in mind. Because of that, we are going to like literally in basically like 4 days, we're getting more stages there. We're getting Int Broly's easy next week. We got the legendary Super Saiyan Broly difficult stage, and then we also got the Supreme Magnificent Battle difficult stages. We got through those, and I'm sure
Mhm.
next week we could get like an extra stage added maybe to that Supreme Magnificent Battle potentially. Probably not until part two, maybe, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. I feel like content has been fine overall. Like for part one, I'll definitely will take the three challenge stages that we're getting added, or I say three, but like three different challenge events are getting stages added to them, or they're just brand new in general. So I like what I'm seeing so
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's one of those
far.
things like with the anniversary is like overall there should be a good amount of content, but it's just one of those things sometimes there's like these little gaps where we go a few days without getting something and then they'll drop like five things all at the same time. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean the events have been cool. Those movie stages that came out today, obviously they were pretty straightforward. I think the Super Saiyans one was the only one that hit like decently hard enough. I think the only reason I died, to be fair, the only reason I did die on it is because I was trying to do the 6 exploding rage characters without using all of the brand new units, right? I was trying to do a team build with like, God Goku, Tech Bird Ku, stuff like that. But the funny thing about exploding rage is that category like really sucked for quite a while. But with all the new characters that have come out, like if you have all the best characters that can go on an exploding rage team, you've got like both the new Brolys, Beast Gohan's on there. Like that team's actually quite good now if you have all of those characters. So that made that stage quite easy. So the three new Blue Zone stages were pretty straightforward. I did quite like the Broly event one. It's very like insanely noticeable how much more difficult it is if you have a Super Saiyan Goku on the team in order to do that mission. Like the amount of extra defense and the amount of extra damage he does. Whereas then if you bring like you do the mission and you bring a Paragus, you bring that free to play Paragus. Like I can't remember a turn because obviously in that second phase his super attack is an AoE. In the run where I bought Paragus, because it nerfs the boss by like 75% attack and defense, I don't think I had a single turn where he super attacked me and the units didn't just take like double digit damage. So the Paragus mission was very easy. He still has a lot of HP, so it wasn't like super short, but it definitely was a nice and straightforward event. So I did
so
quite enjoy that.
what I did and what a lot of people did is they found a cheat code. You could run transforming Goku and Paragus in the same team, and the thing is that transforming Goku counts as Super Saiyan Goku for the mission, but then the turn after when he transforms, he goes Super Saiyan 2, and then he doesn't actually activate Broly's condition inside the events.
That's amazing.
So you could use that transforming Goku or any. I don't know if there's any Super Saiyan Goku that transforms into another form besides that.
Mm,
I'll actually double check just in case, but like in that situation, you're able to just completely get around it with that transforming Goku, and that's what I did. So it is very funny that you do have the ability to just do that,
yeah,
and
that's
then
funny.
yeah, that's the only Goku that could do that. Okay, which is fair, right? So yeah, if you're having issues with that mission and you're struggling, run transforming Goku, put Paragus on the team, then that'll work. Does God Goku count? No, because you would have to transform into Super Saiyan Goku for the mission. Um, and I don't even know if it'll count because the actual unit name is Super Saiyan God Goku.
Yeah, I think it
So
has to
like to
be
be
like,
clear,
yeah, when you put the unit on the team, the name has to include Super Saiyan Goku. So, like the trio count,
yeah,
obviously God
exactly.
Goku doesn't because he just is called God Goku at the very start. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, exactly that. But yeah, that's how that would work. So that's cool. I mean, I guess you could do. Int Super Vegeta, but like you're not even gonna fuse with them anyway. So there should be some different characters that I'm probably not thinking of at the top of my head that you could take advantage of that with. So that's cool.
Yeah, STR Goku and Gohan should work because it's just naming clues, isn't it?
Yeah,
So the trio
yeah.
works,
Goku
like the
Gohan
Int
should work.
trio works. Like yeah, as long as Super Saiyan Goku's part of the card, then it works. So
Yeah, and you just have to like exchange or transform past him. So there you go.
yeah, that's cool. Didn't even think of that.
Yeah. And then again, as long as you have Paragus on the team, then he debuffs that. So I just used I did use God Goku as my leader for Pure Saiyan's team, and I just put Paragus and that transform Goku in the team.
Yeah, because I guess you could do those two missions at the same time, and then obviously the other one was Planetary Destruction.
Yeah.
I think I just used like the Frieza team, but even then, like without Paragus, because obviously he's not on Planetary Destruction, so you can't use him in that run. But it was very noticeable how much easier it was without the Goku on the team and him getting 160% extra attack and defense, which is quite a lot.
Huge.
Yeah, that's a
I believe
lot
his
of extra
AoE
damage.
hits for like I think his AoE hits for like over 3 mil.
Damn.
Damage right there if you do have that. So that's a lot of damage for an AoE. 3 million damage super AoE is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the AGL transforming Goku. The one that came out for was it 2018 worldwide?
Yeah, damn.
I think it was 2018, right?
Yeah, long time ago.
Long time ago for sure.
Yeah,
Because
because
that was the year of the 3rd anniversary.
Yeah, the fact that he's on rotation, like so, when you go into the second phase against the actual legendary Super Saiyan Broly, if you then don't have a unit whose name is Super Saiyan Goku, it doesn't do anything. Which I didn't even think about that. It's great.
Yeah. But yeah, the planetary destruction mission, I found it pretty easy with Frieza. Frieza just like obliterated Broly because he's pure Saiyan. So
to get guaranteed crits.
Also, you could lower his attack too. So
yes, yeah, that was super useful. Attack lowering is definitely really, really good in that event if you are finding it difficult. Yeah, the attack lowering helps out a huge amount. So
I agree. And then we have the Supreme Magnificent Battle stages for it was Goku Youth, it was Piccolo and Goku, and then there's the 3 Great Super Saiyans, they called it. I didn't really find them difficult stages. I mean, like you could release these stages in like 2022, and they'd be like top 5 fights in the game. But right now they're like, those fights were not really.
I mean,
touching.
Yeah, like I did the Kid Goku one with a DB Saga team just for the the memes of it, and he does build up attacks. I think there was a turn where it was like, because obviously physical path to power Kid Goku hasn't aged the best when it comes to like, especially like big boss super attacks. I think there was a turn where I got super attacked for like 600k, so I survived with like the tiniest amount of health left because he raises his attack like every turn. But other than that, like it wasn't really that difficult, and that was with a much weaker team. And then I went into the second phase against the Goku and Piccolo and actually used like I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't like my best team or anything, but used an actual 200% team, and I think I beat the stage in less than like 6 minutes or something. So the first two definitely very easy. The Super Saiyan Trio one was the only one, like I say, that was actually like I would say decently hard hitting. But again, wasn't like super difficult.
For me, it was Goku and Piccolo. I think Goku and Piccolo with that 50% debuff. He lowers your defense by 50%, so that could be a little nasty. And he could super twice a turn. So that boss could, like, that 50% defense is a lot. A debuff is a lot, especially considering it's just a turn one thing. And he has a 50% chance to super use. So that fight probably, I would say, is the harder one. But
yeah, I think it was the typical thing where it was Hirudegarn didn't dodge against them, and they are physical, so they just annihilated him.
Fun. Yeah, just Hirudegarn things.
Just Hirudegarn things.
Sure. That's right. But yeah, that's it for the events. Again, they weren't really crazy, but hopefully we get some more slightly, I wouldn't even say slightly more difficult fights, but still stuff to do, which is fun.
Plus, we got the little events, even though they're not like a huge amount to talk about in terms of actual like meat of content. But we got a couple of those events for like the skill orbs, the daily one for getting a bunch of extra stones. So there's a few extra like little things to do here and there every day, which is good. But as the celebration goes on, I'm sure we'll get more and more stuff, because we know the celebration is related to all three of the Brody movies, which is interesting because obviously we would only expect new characters in terms of summonable for part two. So I'm very interested to see how they're going to spread the content, like considering we have part two but two more movies. So it'll be interesting to see what other stuff we get, because we could end up getting like the Tech Broly EZA, who's obviously from movie 10. We could get that before the part two banners come out, and then the part two banners are to do with Bio Broly, which I know is like the big meme at the moment. Like the fact that part two could end up being like LR Bio Broly, which would be terrible and hilarious all at the same time.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But there is one thing last in terms of our overall topics. That is the trash take segment. Woo!
Hey.
Yay! We love the trash take segment. So, me and Ningen kind of picked this one together. We're just looking at the different ones. We're like, I think this one could be an interesting thing to talk about. Um, and I don't know if it's on the screen already. Ningen, let me know when it's there. All right. So this trash take here was given us to by Tauntaun, Video Tauntaun. Thank you very much for submitting your take here. And this take, just to read it out, the last 2 months made me seriously consider quitting. Been playing since the second anniversary on Global. I understand their decisions were made towards the most money possible, but it is still absolutely painful to play as a free-to-play player. Also, Age of All Our Blue Duo is an okay unit. Stop the hive mind hates. So I think we're going to focus mainly on the first section. The second section is like, at the end of the day, objectivity. You could think about what you want about the characters, but I think the first section is a little more interesting because, I mean, if you think about it in a global perspective, you guys just went through the 9th anniversary banners. You went through UI Goku's banner. You went through Topo's banner. You went through Cell Max's banner. Like all these LRs dropped, and then you have the worldwide LRs now. And then you do all that. And then you hear, oh, there's a pity system. How is this new summon system going to help? Is it going to help me like get the characters better? And then you find out, oh, you need 2,500 stones to summon. And I think that's kind of like the mindset that Tauntaun's having here. And it's like interesting. I wanted to like, I think the discussion could begin from this firstly. And secondly, do you guys think that like it's like an outtake in terms of like they are overreacting potentially? Or do you think that it's an everything? What are you guys thinking here?
Yeah,
And
I would say
Ningen,
the main thing to consider the main body of the tweet as the trash take and not the bit at the end. So don't vote L take just because you think the blue duo suck, because that last part was just kind of tacked on the end there.
Yeah. But what are you thinking specifically for this take?
Yeah, so I mean, it does come into what we were saying before, like when we had the whole conversation at the very beginning of the episode about the pity system, and the slightly different situation that global players are in. That yeah, I can definitely see the frustration if you are a free-to-play player. This time of year has always been difficult because it's going from the anniversary, like pretty much straight into the worldwide celebration. Normally, there's just been like a filler Dokkan Fest that is normally worth skipping, which in this case was Topo. I would still say, as good as he is and as good as his team is, should really have been like an easy skip for global players in terms of, being careful with your stones, saving for potential future stuff. But like the fact that they dropped Tech UI Goku and Cell Max, like all within that same, like I think we went, was it like 5 weeks in a row where we had a banner every single week, like, or something like that. It was like, because if you count the part 2 banners from the end of the anniversary, and then we have like Tech UI Goku, Topo, Cell Max, and then the worldwide celebration comes out. I can understand it being very frustrating because for a lot of people, you have units like, Cell Max, who, seeing how crazy good he was on release, there's a lot of global players, especially who enjoyed like the physical Rosé or the Broly or just like super bosses in general, really excited to summon for Cell Max. But then because all of this stuff came out like so soon, like so quickly together, you just kind of have to, like, you just have to skip some of those characters, which obviously is not something that people want to be doing. We talk about it all the time when we talk about the, you know, big banners coming out, and I do like the summon or skip videos. It's like people don't like being told like, hey, you should skip this banner, especially when it's for a character that is really, really good, or a character that that person really likes. But sometimes you just kind of have to do that, especially if you are free to play or don't spend a lot. And so that's obviously created a slightly more unique and tough situation for global players, because all of this stuff has been coming out in such quick succession. Plus the fact, you know, that global is not just with this scenario over the last couple of months, but obviously bearing in mind with the sync, that is going to be like a full-time thing, is that global is basically losing out on that foresight like advantage, because sometimes with free-to-play or low-spending players, that does give you that little bit of an idea of like what's coming up in the future, seeing something that you know you potentially want, so then you can weigh up skipping something else that comes out in the meantime. Whereas obviously for global, we just went back to back to back on all of these crazy banners. And the one thing that we'd hoped, that we talked about in the past, you know, it's one of those things, we know, we've said many times about how it's a gacha game, it's a business, all this kind of stuff, but we had talked about it in the past, how they were going to handle the different variation, like the different parts of the sync. And the one thing I had really hoped that they would do would be to just give out like some extra stones for free based on all the content that was coming out. And like, we got a few things here and there, and like we had the thing randomly the other day where it was like, here's 50 stones in honor of the like unification. But it's like, when you're bringing out a banner every single week for 5 weeks, like 50 stones doesn't really help me a lot. Like,
Sorry, the 50 stones is so funny. Go on.
But yeah, that's it. Like, you know, I can definitely see, I can understand the frustration, like, and yeah, it's kind of, it's just exacerbated a problem that already existed, which, like I said, is if you're free to play, sometimes you just have to skip some stuff. It sucks, especially if it's stuff that you really wanted to get, but sometimes you just have to. And unfortunately on global recently, with so many things coming out in such a short amount of time, you'll have had to have done that a lot more than you would normally. So I can understand that being frustrating for free-to-play players especially. And that's the thing. I mean, it's one of those, someone did say in the chat, like, it's definitely one of those things, if you're not enjoying the game anymore, then obviously, you know, sometimes it is best to stop playing, or if you're someone who spends a little bit, cut back on the spending or stop completely. Hopefully, you know, once the rough patch is over, it's going to be one of those things, hopefully when we go into 2025, you know, they've already said like every unit not out on global will be out by the end of the year. The schedules going forward will have already synced at that point. So hopefully going into the new year, it won't be as bad, right? Because the games will be fully synced. Everything will be on this specific trajectory. Like we've already said, the anniversary and the worldwide will each be 6 months apart. So there won't be as much of this issue as there is currently. So I can definitely understand the frustration, but it's just one of those things that we kind of always knew, that to actually do the sync, there would probably be a little bit of pain with like a lot of stuff coming out very close together. But you know, this could obviously be a whole nother topic, and I'm sure it will be once the sync is finally in place. We'll talk about it in more detail. I do think they could have handled it better, rather than dropping literally everything in the last like month or two. They could have spaced things out.
Dumb that they did that.
I think it's something we said on an older episode like ages ago, but like, why didn't they just, for every single celebration of this year, shorten the gap between each celebration by like a week? And then that would have given them like a whole extra like 2 or 3 months by the end of the year to play with. So we could have had these banners like Tech UI Goku Cell Max coming out before the worldwide celebration, but with like a few weeks between them. And then obviously just throw in extra content to give extra stones. But instead, it kind of feels like they basically waited all the way till the last minute. And then it was just like, okay, banner, which, yeah, leads to takes like this. And I can definitely understand the frustration. And then for the memes, when we get to the very last part, I actually do agree that the LR Blue Duo is still an okay unit. I think they do get overly hated, but I think it's the main reason is because we all know their condition sucks. And it's one of those things where 9 times out of 10, if you get to the turn where they need to fuse and they don't fuse, they just get you killed, which you can say objectively makes them a bad unit. But like on turns where, you know, First couple of turns, they're getting their dodges in slot 1. You get to turn 5 and you are at the HP condition and you fuse. Like, on those runs, I definitely would say, like, I don't have any issues with them. But yeah, they obviously were. You know, we see units like Broly now, or the trio now, who is the Dokkan Fest for this year, compared to the Blue Duo, who were the Dokkan Fest from last year. And you can see considerable improvement in this year's units, let's just put it that way. So, but yeah, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts as well. But I can see where the guy's coming from with the bit of fatigue, especially as a global player, more so, with all these banners back to back. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a fair take where it's like you explained it very well. They just didn't plan these things out, and because of that, just like everyone's kind of just like taking the the repercussions for that, right? It's the player base that is taking the repercussions for that instead of them planning it out properly like they should have. Is the biggest issue when it comes to that. But unfortunately, at this point, it is too late to kind of like fix that or whatever. I also do think that Ejo Vegeta Blue is a little overheated. It's just like there's so much. I mean, I said it earlier. It's like think about being free to play. You have 10 a large drop in the time span. You get 50 stones as like here's the sync reward. Here's 50 stones after we just dropped 10 banners back to back to back base. And then on top of that, they're like, okay, here's the new summoning system to help make summoning easier. And then it's just pity you have to spend 2,500 stones for. And it's like, well, you could argue that feels a slap in the face, which is why a lot of people were probably upset at the pity system that was announced. We talked about it way earlier, right? Where it's like not as bad as people are saying, but it's like, I think it's the principle of the situation and in context, right? So
yeah, this is what I was saying during that like pity discussion, right? Is if this system had been announced and Global hadn't had loads and loads of banners dropping back to back, and we'd had like a couple of months between the last big celebration and this one, I feel like it probably would have been better received because more people would have already sort of saved up a decent amount of stones. But that's the thing, is to go from all of these banners back to back straight into the worldwide, like a lot of people just aren't going to have that many stones who potentially would if we'd had like 5-6 months between big celebrations to actually save up for it. So it's one of those things, like I said in that whole pity discussion, I feel like that will be maybe looked on slightly better in the future, especially when people look towards saving for like the next anniversary and stuff like that. But for now, after having all those banners back to back, I could definitely see like how it looks, essentially, to be like banner after banner after banner, and then they're like, here's 50 stones, which is nothing in comparison to like everything that we got come out. And then it's like, and yeah, here's a pity system, but you have to drop an amount of stones that realistically, even if they hadn't dropped all of those banners back to back, for global coming out of the anniversary and then literally like 2 months later it's the worldwide, like if you're free to play, if you went all in on the anniversary, which most likely if you're free to play you've been saving up the whole year for, so you probably did, it's very unlikely you're going to be in those 2 months actually having anywhere near enough stones. I say very unlikely, I'm pretty sure it's just impossible, because even the big celebrations like the worldwide give about 1,000 stones total. So for 2 normal months, which is basically a little bit of content here and there and a filler Dokkan Fest, there's no way you'll have saved up enough stones from when the anniversary ended. So I can definitely understand why on global people would be feeling that like fatigue a little bit. It's definitely understandable.
Yeah. Hopefully again next year everything will be perfectly fine. And I think that I think it'll be okay, right? As the next year, the pity and the banner is going to be more spaced out, everything like that. So it seems like the general consensus is W take though, from what I saw. But enough, it is closer to like 64% W take, and like 30 something percent L take, right?
Yeah, let's have a look. So let's end the poll there. So YouTube, we know YouTube doesn't like to round up to 100% for some reason, so there's always a 1% margin of error, but W take 64% and L take 35%. So basically 2/3 leaning towards W. I know we have, I think, majority global players in the audience. So I think, like I say, a lot of people able to identify with that same that same struggle, right? Because it has, especially like Tech, UI Goku, and Cell Max. I think if they were units that were just random filler Dokkan Fests and they were pushing them out to catch up to sync with JP, like Topo, and then having like maybe Roshi come out straight afterwards, I feel like people wouldn't have been as bothered by that. But it's the fact that these big units like Tech, UI Goku, and Cell Max, who are characters that people really wanted to summon for, and so having all of them come out in such a short space of time definitely made it worse, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. But yeah, it looks like, again, we got a overall W take for this specific one. And at this point, we're just going to go ahead and read out all the super chats and donos that we got during the podcast. And again, thank you very much for going ahead and supporting the
Mm-hmm.
podcast. We very much appreciate you guys and your
Yep.
time and just for sticking around with us.
Yep,
Episode
shout out to-
50, big old episode 50, right?
I know, right? Shout out to
All right,
everyone
so go
for
ahead
coming
and-
out. Shout out to episode 50, the big 5-0. It's a shame Theo couldn't be here for today's episode, but we all had a lot of stuff going on over the last couple of weeks, which is why there was no episode. We didn't want to keep pushing back episode 50 because it is a big one. So potentially Theo will be back next week. I'm not sure. Obviously, at this point, even though we're still at episode number 50, because we skipped a couple of episodes, we have now passed the actual year, like anniversary of episodes. So been doing the podcast for over a year now. Shout out to all you guys. I know there's definitely people in the chat and people who've contributed that have come out basically every time since episode 1. So appreciate all you guys. I was able to save the list of super chats from the first stream before it crashed, so we do have all of those, as well as the ones that have come in from when we restarted for the second part. So appreciate all you guys. We'll go through all of those now. So the ones from the previous stream, we have Philip Rodriguez with the $2 super chat, says happy 50th episode. So like I say, appreciate all you guys coming out for 50 episodes of the Slot One Super Podcast. Philip Rodriguez with another super chat for $5 says, in the words of Super Saiyan 4 Goku, this is going to be special. I can feel it, in regards to the worldwide feeling different. I mean, yeah, worldwide's changed things up a little bit. Like we said, even if the pity's not perfect, at least it's a step in the right direction. The units are all super good. So, they've been on trend. Like the Easy A's have all been pretty good this year. So I'm really looking forward to Int Broly. Like I was super hyped when they announced his Easy A, because I know we all want to see Tech Broly get an Easy A. They're probably saving that for a little bit later because he's from movie 10 and we started off with movie 8. So I was super hyped for Int Broly to get an Easy A. So can't wait to see what he does. So the worldwide definitely is feeling pretty good so far. So here's one we got, JC Gamer for $5. I think they need to start retiring old Dokkan Fests and some of the old banner units, because pulling AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku or any year one unit feels god awful. I don't know what you think about that, Minato. I feel like the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku is probably not the best example, because obviously he has a Super Easy A now. But it is kind of funny him being featured on the trio banner, because like for someone like me who's been playing the game for so long, summoning on a banner in 2024 and getting a guaranteed featured animation and then the unit is AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku, it definitely feels very odd because he's such an old unit. But obviously he does have a Super Easy A now.
It's definitely odd, but I do prefer that they actually bring these characters back in actual banners, so that people actually do have an opportunity to get them, besides those like Dokkan Festival, category banners. Because while true, you could buy them with coins in those banners, not everyone's gonna want to spend the coins to buy those characters or summon on that banner anyways, right? So it is nice for them, because it's just one spot on the banner, and it's like they'll probably put an old unit, like a 2018 unit there anyways. So if they're just gonna end up putting an old unit there anyways, might as well bring back a super easy A that people could still potentially get use out of. Especially because that EGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku, when's the last time he's been on an actual banner? I guarantee you that there's a lot of people who didn't even have him before summoning on this banner, even though he had a super easy aim.
Yeah.
When's the last time he's been an actual banner? I think it was recent, to be fair. Was it Same Day? No, I'm scrolling back here.
I'm trying to think.
The last time he was actually on a banner was the AGL Super Saiyan transforming Gogeta that transforms into Blue Gogeta.
Because wasn't it like when he
No,
got
actually,
his
no, never
Super
mind.
EZA, they
That was
just
EGO
gave everyone
Bardock.
a
My
copy of
bad.
him, didn't they? Or like no, that's it. There
With
was
the
they didn't just
redstone?
give him. There was like one copy available for like 150 red coins or something. Like when he got his Super EZA, they just
Something like
randomly put
that.
him in the shop for like one copy or something. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
he
right.
hasn't been on
That's what they
banners
did.
for a while, which is interesting.
Yeah, sorry. My
he
fault.
did.
Last time he was on a banner was EGO Bardock.
But yeah, he did say in the chat, to clarify, they should start retiring units and move them onto a permanent discounted banner. I think in general that is definitely true.
I think that's
especially for big Dokkan Fest. Like obviously we have things like the ticket banner from this celebration where obviously it has like 50 featured units and it has all the old Dokkan Fests. They're always going to do stuff like that when it comes for like free summons. But yeah, for premium Dokkan Fest, especially in things like the anniversary and worldwide and stuff like that, we don't want to be seeing these like random 2018 or 2020 like SSRs on the banner. It's just
Chad
become
did
a
bring
thing.
up a good point.
Yeah.
With the redstone, right?
Oh yeah.
There's the redstone now, so like you could just get him with the redstone.
Yeah, that is true. So it's like he doesn't even really need to be on banners like anymore. Or as someone has said as well, like put some of these really old SSRs from the general pool and stuff like that, put them in like the friend summon banner, because some of these units, even their EZAs are now like 4 or 5 years old and they're just not like usable anymore. So we don't want them clogging up the general pool, especially when like there are so many banner units now like that are really good. We always see the same issue, like people in chat are always telling me, like it happens to me sometimes too, where like you don't get the banner unit from a new celebration, or maybe you get one copy and then it takes you months before they just like randomly turn up in another summon. So thinning out the general pool would definitely be useful for that, but is what it is, I suppose. But shout out to JC Gamer. Shout out to Weber Class for the $10 super chat. It says, if there is an EX part for this worldwide celebration, who would you like to see EZA? Tech LR Gogeta and Physical LR Janemba, or Int Super Saiyan Goku and AGL Full Power Frieza, or something else that would be beneficial for teams? Man, I don't know who would be next in line technically, but like I actually can't wait for Physical Janemba's EZA and like the Tech Gogeta, because we already talked about how Movie Bosses needs that little bit extra to be like top tier, and Physical Janemba, if he got a really good EZA, could be really good. And that Tech Gogeta, like STR Vegito got a really good EZA, although I do see people saying that like he hasn't aged well already. But I mean, that Tech Gogeta, if he got a really good EZA, I could see him being super fun to use again. And obviously I think he would be on the trios team, and then obviously
I would say
will be on Broly's team. So
I would say those two EZs would fit better. It's just that I'm thinking like they'll EZA during anniversary, but they could just EZA them now, and then we can get like super EZAs for In Janemba and S tier super Gogeta during anniversary. Right, that could happen. Right, that still fits just fine.
Yeah, that would be super good. I have seen some people speculate about like Frieza and Namek Goku, just obviously because they were worldwide celebration characters. So them just like randomly EZAing as like a bonus thing during this worldwide celebration. I mean, it's definitely not impossible, but obviously it doesn't fit the theme, obviously, like at all. But it would be cool as like a bonus thing for some of these teams. I'd love to see in Namek Goku with an EZA. Like, he could be so good again.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, shout out to Weekly Class.
I just don't think that there's going to be like EX part for worldwide.
Yeah, I think if anything, it would just be all tied to the theme. Yeah, and then I guess we'll see what happens afterwards. But 10th anniversary, I could definitely see like STR Gogeta and In Janemba getting their super EZAs, and then maybe those LRs as well. That would be super cool. But yeah, shout out to Weeble Class for that one. And then we'll bring up the ones that came in after we restarted. Here we got a couple more, so shout out to you guys. Philip Rodriguez with the $2 says, this last week since episode 50 went by real fast. Yeah, as we switched over between part 1 and part 2. Shout out to all you guys for obviously hanging around and while we fixed that and got the stream back up. Philip Rodriguez also gifted 10 memberships to the channel, so I appreciate you. We also have a $5 super chat from the Oshawott squad that says, what do Dokkan and Shadow have in common? They're two of the 2024 GOATs. Keanu is fire. This is Dro. Oh, this is Drace, by the way. Okay, Drace. Oh, I actually haven't watched the Sonic 3 trailer yet, but yeah, Keanu Reeves is voicing Shadow. And then obviously, yeah, Dokkan has been killing it in 2024. There's been a few minor things here and there, like Bardock EZA, or people not happy about the pity system, or so many banners back to back. Like that kind of stuff is frustrating. But when we look at like the quality of the units, the quality of the EZAs, especially when you compare to how hit or miss some of the Dokkan Fests and EZAs were in 2023, I think overall we could say that 2024 has been a very good year for Dokkan so far. So definitely, as someone who of course enjoys the game, has been playing it for a long time, like it's one of those things I always want the game to be good and to be as fun as possible because I want to keep enjoying playing it. So this year I think has definitely been going a lot better than the previous year. And of course, you know, the next big thing, even though it's quite a few months away now, the next big thing is the 10th anniversary. So I can only expect that things are going to be even more exciting once we get to that point. So definitely been a good year for Dokkan, and of course to tie it back in, it's definitely been a good and fun year for us. 50 episodes, here we go. We've only missed a couple of weeks since the inception, so getting to that big 5-0, it's definitely been a lot of fun. Appreciate all you guys that have come out, all you guys that have supported, everyone who, if you're listening back to the VOD or if you're listening to the Spotify versions, any of that stuff, we appreciate you guys for supporting the show. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys. And of course, we'll catch you all in the next installment episode next week. And we have Broly and everything like that. It's going to be awesome. Catch you guys the next time, though. Peace out.
Peace out.